stay away from the fog.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever I call you when I think that I wrote something clever but actually forgot, to the 157th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, featuring Full Circle, starring Tom Baker, Lala Ward, Matthew Waterhouse, and the voice of John Leeson.
As K9.
As, yes, well, you don't name what everybody is. Yeah. And today is the 18th of May, 2016. For those of you who are here the 11th of May, I do apologize. We did have some technical difficulties that were not Skype's fault, nor were they ours, but we were able to fix them.
I can explain what happened. Approximately 45 minutes prior to our broadcasting time, Charter Communications, the cable service that hosts 3 out of the 5 people here, had its DNS server go tits up. Literally means that the 3 of us could not connect anywhere on to the internet. Anything requiring a domain name would not be gotten to. And that includes apparently placing calls on Skype, I should mention. So I could get onto Skype via my phone using it as a wireless router, but that did not have the bandwidth to host the call. Aaron, myself, and editing, and Matt was completely foobarred. So after not being able to see it resolve itself, after about 20 minutes, we called it a week. And to be honest, that was a good thing because the domain name server didn't come up until about half hour after we were supposed to be done.
Oh, was it that soon? The earliest I saw any trace of it being back up was when our podcast normally ends. So I was like, yeah, let's not.
It was barely sort of connecting.
Yeah,
it wasn't actually full strength again until like
it was
hour or so after.
1:45 Eastern, I think, was about the point that it came up. 1:30 to 1:45 Eastern was when I actually saw it connecting proper.
Yeah, and our podcast technically runs from 11 to 1 Eastern. So.
Yep. So that was completely, absolutely not our fault. Yep. But, normally if there's just one of us gone, the show must go on and we'll continue. But that was over half of us, including our technical director. So it was just like, no.
Then we also have the rule if there's no Aaron with good bandwidth and there's no Matt with good bandwidth, we can't really Twitch it.
Well, so, Aaron's bandwidth is my bandwidth, so either one of us.
That's what I mean. So if you two are both down and Matt is also down, Tim doesn't have the bandwidth and I don't have the bandwidth to handle Twitch.
No.
Not to mention, I don't think either of you have OBS.
I got the bandwidth to handle this.
I have OBS, I just don't have the bandwidth for it to actually matter.
Yeah.
You can always go back to Fraps.
I'm not dignifying that with a response.
Never, ever, ever.
Never, ever again. With sugar on top.
We really do not want to go back to that first season, where we had done this recording, but we lost over half of it due to Fraps. No.
I almost wonder if did you guys have, like, the record key for Fraps mapped to a certain key that you kept pushing?
No. The problem was that Fraps would record about a 10 gig podcast, and I'd only have 5 gigs left on my hard drive.
Oh.
That'd be his problem. My problem would be that somewhere along the line, Fraps just gave up a shit and didn't tell me that it did.
There was also the issue of the fact that it would cut it into about 45 different pieces without me hitting any keys.
Oh,
Oh, you can uncheck a box for that. That box comes automatically checked sometimes.
You can, but
Breaks
that
it up
still
into
doesn't
4
help the size.
I know, it breaks it up into 4 gigabyte chunks. because I had that happen once with Lounge Leads. It was not fun to put it back together, but whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, either way, it was just too much of a pain in our collective asses to deal with Fraps anymore. And that's when we went to OBS and Twitch. Although, if we ever wanted to go back to doing it the old way, we could just record in OBS and export, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which I technically can do, yes.
Yeah.
It's how we record our live from GeekCons, considering there's no way we can Twitch from the frickin' GeekCon hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Although
God, that internet of death.
Yeah. My editing software doesn't recognize the OBS output.
Is that what you did for GeekCon 2015?
Yeah, I recorded it on the GeekCon laptop in OBS.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Why, did that one come out okay?
I honestly don't remember. I was under the impression we had, or at least I was sitting here remembering as if we had live streamed it, but that's entirely possible.
No,
that
we never had a connection strong enough to get more than just you.
No,
Gotcha.
the internet at the Marriott, they keep saying they're upgrading it, but there's 3,000 people at GeekCon, all of which are using the internet, plus other departments using the internet. It's a nightmare.
And last I checked, mobile service wasn't that good in there either in order to tether. So
It depends on where you are.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's really iffy. I would add that 3/4 of my video game stuff is recorded through OBS without online.
All right, so we should, since we've got 2 weeks to catch up on, we should probably get to the news here.
Probably. Although we
Fortunately, the last week was not that big news-wise. But even still, when you stack up 2 weeks like this, it gets kind of big. So, why don't you start us off, Aaron, with birthdays?
Okie dokie. So in the birthday news, we're bidding a posthumous birthday to the late Delia Derbyshire. Delia Derbyshire, composer who would have been 79 on Thursday, May 4th. Richard E. Grant, non-canon 10, animated 9. Was GI at all?
Great intelligence.
Great intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Al would be referring to his great intelligence related character who I barely remember the name of.
Yeah, Simeon, I think, wasn't it?
That's the one.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So he turned 59 on, as well as May 4th. The late Valentine Dial, Black Guardian, would have been 108 on Saturday, May 7th. Terrence Dix turned 81 Tuesday, May 10th. And Catherine Tate turned 48 on Thursday, May 12th.
Yeah, when we mentioned Richard E. Grant being the non-canon 10, that was in Curse of Fatal Death. He was one of the Doctor's regenerations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were talking about the Doctor's regenerations. I thought you were talking about, like, episodes. I'm like, what?
No.
Non-canon episode 10?
Nope, he was the 10th non-canon Doctor in Curse of Fatal Death, the Lick the Mirror Handsome Doctor.
Oh, okay.
And then he was the voice of the animated Ninth Doctor in Scream of the Shalka.
Okay.
So he's the only person to ever be cast as the Doctor twice in stuff that turned out to be non-canonical before getting a canonical role on Doctor Who.
Huh.
Yeah, I think the closest to that would be what Jacoby playing the non-canon master and then the canon master.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The non-canon master and the briefly canonical master.
Yep.
For all of the 5 minutes of screen time that he had, that was glorious.
There's a lot of people still hoping that he manages to be a Big Finish master, but not yet.
I would love to see if they ever decide that Michelle Gomez is done being Missy, that for whatever bizarre reason he regenerates into a copy of himself being Derek Jacobi. Because he was great. I would have loved to see more of that. And of course, Catherine Tate being the young one on that list.
Yeah.
She's
the only one from New Who. Well, the only one
Time is
exclusively from
perceptible.
New Who.
Yep.
Since Richard Grant is technically from New Who.
New Who. I like to drink Yoo-hoo.
Yoo-hoo.
That rhymed.
All right.
Well, going on to news about future episodes. We have news about future episodes, and that is there's a schedule for the final season of Doctor Who filming. Stephen Moffat's final... Well, I don't mean that this is the final season of Doctor Who. I mean, it's Stephen Moffat's final season.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be filming for 10 months when it starts filming.
Okay, so they're including the Christmas special. I guess they're gonna film the Christmas special and then immediately go into Series 10 as far as filming is concerned.
And it says Pearl Mackie will join Peter Capaldi's Doctor as his new companion, Bill. Huh.
Yep.
She doesn't really look like a Bill to me.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, but apparently... apparently there's that it's not that uncommon a name. I'm wondering if there's a feminine, extension for Bill.
I mean, the
Well,
female.
I know there are
usually
girls
women.
named Will.
Usually women along that line are Billy, such as Billy Piper.
Well, I'm wondering if it's something like Wilhelmina.
Right.
That can
Yeah.
get abbreviated
Wilhelmina
to
is
Bill.
normally the long form. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It says, so the Christmas episode will be first, and then there will be a full season starting in spring 2017.
Yeah, so that means that we're looking at probably either March or May being the start of season 10. Depending. They usually like to start on a bank holiday. And it really depends, I guess, on how much they want to avoid Eurovision.
And Chris Chibnall's first season airs in 2018.
Yep.
The suspense is killing me. I'm getting anxious. Gonna have to do something.
Yeah. So there were some people who were under the impression that because Pearl Mackie's costume as Bill was already on display in the Doctor Who Experience, that meant that she was done filming Doctor Who already and would only be appearing for Christmas. So I would think that this news at least disconfirms the fact, it kind of proves that she's not done filming. Whether we'll see her for the whole season or not is, of course, still up in the air, but I get the impression, based on what we've seen, that she is not just for Christmas, that she will be for the duration of the season.
Yeah, I'm suspecting that if that's not, that might have been a copy of her costume. They when they make a production costume for somebody, they make several copies of it, just in case one gets damaged.
Yeah, considering how likely they are to be destroyed, drenched, have goop poured on them, and other things during filming, they need a few on hand.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if they just ran off an extra one and gave it to the Doctor Who Experience.
Sounds most likely.
But it's season 10 is expected to begin filming in Cardiff later in May.
Ah, that's interesting, because I thought they were filming Class right now. But they must be taking up 2 studios simultaneously. Something they wouldn't let Russell T. Davies do.
Yeah.
Is Russell T. Davies aware of this?
Unless they're filming all of the location shots until Class is done and then filming the studio shots.
Maybe.
But even then, that still means 2 production teams, both dedicated to Doctor Who, which I don't think RTD ever had at one time.
But, it's since the Russell T. Davies era, Doctor Who has become the BBC's primary breadwinner. I mean, let's face it ain't going to be Top Gear anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
And
I've heard of...
even if Sherlock seems to be the most popular, it's not exactly cranking out the episodes or the seasons.
And that's really the BBC's top 3. What were you saying, Matt?
Speaking of Top Gear, I heard some Australian fans have seen who the new Top Gear people are going to be, and apparently they're not impressed.
Yeah, I kind of knew that. There's no way you can top the trio.
I'm sorry, I was not under the impression that Australians are impressed by things ever.
Well,
I don't know. There were some
by
pretty
Top Gear to
hardcore
make
Top
their
Gear.
own group.
Yeah, there were some pretty hardcore Top Gear fans in Australia and in the U.S. But you're not going to be able to top that trio of Clarkson, May, and Hammond anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of knew that when I saw that they had to get something like 5 or 7 hosts. I'm like, still not going to do it, guys.
Nope. Matter of fact, you probably just amplified the problem.
Okay.
It looks like there are a bunch of evil Mary Poppins figures lying around, and DoctorWhoNews.net is just giving them away. Just kidding, it's actually Missy. They say they're not giving away the 2 limited edition Missy figures just because Michelle Gomez didn't win the supporting actress BAFTA, but you never know. To win this worldwide competition, send an email by the end of May to comp-missy@DoctorWhoNews.net with the subject line Missy in and either purple ! Or black ! Depending on your preference. That's right, don't be greedy, you only get one. In addition to your name, country, and the name of an Unearthly podcast, your entry should include your answer to the following question. Missy was introduced to the world as a new incarnation of the Master in Dark Water, but which character name was used during filming to try to ensure the revelation remained a secret until broadcast?
I actually don't know that.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I remembered, if I knew that as well, and I don't think I do either.
Of course, you describing it as evil Mary Poppins. I missed like half of what you said because a voice in my head started singing, "Just a spoonful of sugar hides the cyanide quite well." And I'm like,
Mary Poppins, she's come to kill us all, children.
I actually want to see that as a movie now.
This is all sounding like a Robot Chicken sketch.
I might have to email Seth Green now.
Well, have you ever seen the Mary Poppins trailer re-edited to be a horror movie?
No.
No, I
Oh
don't
god,
think so.
it's magical. Go watch it. It's on YouTube.
I'll have to look it up later.
All right, our next one. Have you ever wanted to break into Doctor Who professionally? If you answered yes to that question, Big Finish has a contest for you. In memory of the late writer Paul Spragg, Big Finish is accepting email submissions of stories from now until the 30th of June. All entries must be submitted electronically, either as Word-related documents or PDF files to competitions@bigfinish.com. It should be a 500-word synopsis and a 500-word excerpt, with the excerpt having the possibility of changing during the actual writing process. Both pages should be marked with the writer's name and email address. The story should be set any time between the First Doctor era and Night of the Doctor, with no previously established monsters. This is only for those who have not written for Doctor Who before, and the story should not have been published anywhere before. There are a few other related conditions that can be found on bigfinish.com for those who are interested. I am very tempted to enter this, but I honestly just, with all the amount of work I plan to do this summer, don't think I'm going to have the time to actually come up with it.
Yeah.
By the way, the final story, once the winner is commissioned, will be expected to be a 5,000-word short.
Yeah, that's kind of my worry too, is the deadline is basically when I'm finished my current job, and my current job is eating the life out of me.
Let's see, it's saying that the winner will be informed in late July, and they will have until early autumn to complete the first draft.
Oh, Jesus.
So basically until GeekCon,
Yeah.
you have 5,000 words ready.
Yeah, the timing on this is not good for me. Because
I could do it. I write about 1,500 words every other week.
The main reason I don't expect to be able to do it is because I'm intending to work 2 jobs all summer, And if I'm working between 70 and 90 hours as I plan to, I will not be able to crank out serious word count during that time.
Well, I'm
Wow.
basically working my current job till the end of June, which, as Aaron will attest to, tires the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that I sometimes have to come home and take a nap, like I did today. And then, as soon as that's done, I'm in GeekCon scramble mode because I've got July and August for GeekCon, and that's it. So I have to get shit done in a hurry.
By the way, they also mentioned that a competitor can submit as many entries as they want. So if you have 10 stories that you have ideas for, you can submit all 10 of them, and they'll all be considered as the possible final winner.
Interesting. Like, I could probably do this if I had more interest in writing for Doctor Who. Like, I could easily do 5,000 words by August.
So they're looking for a prose story, not a script?
It would be a script. They don't spell it out, but yeah.
Are they looking for a script? Are you sure it's an audio short trip and not one of their novelizations?
Let me open up the link again, but I'm fairly certain this is intended to be published by Big Finish because it's being submitted to Big Finish.
Big Finish also releases short trip novels.
Really?
Yes.
I thought those were BBC books.
Big Finish has done a couple. I thought Big Finish actually had the rights to the term short trip now. Because BBC published them for a while, and then Big Finish took them over.
The winner will have their story commissioned, recorded by Doctor Who actor and Big Finish executive producer Nicholas Briggs, and presented on the Big Finish website as a free Doctor Who short trip download from the end of 2016.
Yes, that sounds like it's a short trip, but it's
a shame this can't be featuring the Nick Briggs Doctor.
Yeah, this is. It's also. It's said recorded by an actor, so it's going to be
by actor Nick Briggs.
Yes, but what that means is it's going to be read. It's like going to be a book on tape kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what the short trips are. They're just audio books. They're not audio dramas.
That means it doesn't necessarily have to be a script. That means it probably shouldn't be a script. They probably want it in novel form. Or format.
You might be right on that. I haven't actually listened to the short trips, but considering how the narrator stories tend to be, then yeah, it's probably prefer to be largely dialogue, but yeah, with narration would be part of that.
Yep.
Just don't write it with. Oh yeah, it can't be Captain Jack anyway because it's classic only. But don't write Captain Jack because we don't want to have to hear Nick Briggs as doing his John
Barrowman ever again. Worst John Barrowman ever.
And the funny thing is, apparently in the Big Finish studios, they were applauding him for doing the best John Barrowman impression of all of them.
Yeah, they were blowing smoke up his ass.
That, or just none of them can do an American accent.
Yeah, that's probably just it, that none of them can do American accents well.
Trust us, we're Americans. That wasn't a good accent. Of course, I wonder how they would talk about me doing my English accent, so I should not talk. Glass houses, stones. Moving right along.
The shards.
It has been announced that the Series 9 Sonic Screwdriver, a.k.a. the one seen in Hellbent, will be getting a toy release this summer.
Yay! And just in time for GeekCon.
Yeah, well, I've already called dibs, so hey.
I'm gonna be hunting it down at GeekCon, so yeah.
Ooh.
Just try to hold me back as soon as I find it. It's mine.
I've already called dibs, Matt. I called dibs in Hellbent. A second they showed that screwdriver, I said, "That one's mine, guys."
If we all show up at the live podcast with the same screwdriver and cross the streams, what happens?
I kick all of you in the nuts.
That could be bad.
I Rochambeau all of you for it. I go first. Okay.
I just realized the end is kind of like a replica of TARDIS. Like, not quite, but like if you stretched out window-looking things.
Kinda.
So this sonic screwdriver is made by Character Options, the same one that has been making the screwdriver toys for quite a while now, and also makes the figures and everything. It's the main Doctor Who toy distributor.
Mhm.
This has some upgrades over the previous sonic screwdriver models, including more sounds. Apparently, how you change it will change up how the lighting effects works. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Ooh, yeah, I
It
like
has
how
a-
it turns green.
I wonder if it has a third setting.
Shut up, Bill.
Oh, man.
Ed Bill has earned his next dick kick, people.
Apparently, he's already crossed the stream.
I'm probably
Oh my
on borrowed
God, I
time
think I
myself.
I think I'm going to order this, maybe.
I'm just gonna wait till it comes out and pick it up from Geek Plastique.
I'm pretty much
Shameless plug.
considering.
Shameless plug.
I'm pretty sure that I'll find a copy of it somewhere at the vendor room at GeekCon. So
Probably from Geek Plastique. Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
maybe
They might be sold out because the last time I went, I remember that the 10th Doctor's one was sold out. It's probably will sell even better because the Doctor was not the current Doctor at the time.
Maybe.
I still have to pick up the back models. I was never fond of the Matt Smith era sonic screwdriver.
It was all right. It wasn't perfect.
I never. It always seemed too bulky, and I never liked those claws.
Agree.
I do agree. The claws were pointless.
I like this one. It looks slimmer.
Even the Doctor asked himself if he was compensating for something.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on again. We covered a few weeks ago the fact that there was an exhibition going on that was showing the original cover artwork from Target Books. That exhibition has now been extended due to popular demand and will now run until Sunday, June 5th. As a reminder, it is at the Cartoon Museum in Bloomsbury in London. It features 30 pieces of art, which were commissioned for the cover illustrations of Doctor Who novelizations during the 70s and 80s, originally under the Target imprint. That's the one that has the little bullseye. It was supposed to close this weekend, well, last weekend, and now has further 3 weeks on it. Apparently, according to Edward Russell, who was the guy that created this exhibition, they had no idea how popular it would be. They originally was only going to go for 2 weeks, and now it's going even farther.
Currently for 5.
It's almost like Doctor Who's a big hit or something. Who would have imagined that?
Yeah. And, this is the first time some of these people have seen it. A lot of these books have been out of print for decades.
True.
I know in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a habit for me to go down to used bookstores and browse the bookstores for copies of these I didn't have. I still have a big box of these somewhere.
Hopefully not covered in snow.
We never know. Anyway, it's very nice to see that there is such a positive turnout for these Doctor Who novelizations and their cover art.
Ooh. Sorry, just a little sleepy. All right.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Continuing on with more book news. Bookie book news. All right. Candy Jar Books has announced a new digital-only short story, The Lock-In, for the Lethbridge Stewart range of short novels. This is if you have are picking up the books, ordering the regular books, and it's kind of a little incentive to keep ordering them. These freebie short stories that they've started handing out. It apparently was so popular in 2015 that they've extended it through 2016. Let me see here. This new short story, the latest, is going to be written by Sarah Groenewegen. Groenewegen?
That sounds about right.
Butchered.
Growing way, yeah.
Groenewegen? Sorry if I butchered the last name. Sarah was born in Sydney, Australia, but now lives in London. She has had essays published in various anthologies, including the Hugo-nominated Queer Stig Time Lords. Most recently, she contributed over 20 entries to the 1001 TV shows you must watch before you die. Her short fiction has won awards, Scarlet Stiletto in 2002 in particular, and been published in Big Finish's Doctor Who line, including the award-winning Short Trips Zodiac. I think I remember that one. I haven't read or listened to it, but sounds interesting. But yeah, the lock-in takes the form of a series of letters between Pearl and Sir Alistair, a man at the end of his life, as they reminisce over the adventures they shared just after he graduated from Sandhurst in 1956. There's a story of the impact of one man can make, a story of perception of history and the importance of those who pass through our lives. So that's kind of nice.
Before we move away from book news, there's one that I actually had thought that we had included in our links, but apparently we had at one point or another missed. There is another announcement that I've just sent to the Skype. BBC Books will be releasing The Legends of River Song on the 2nd of June, which is an anthology book featuring, looks like 5 different authors with various short stories and things of that nature, all about, of course, River Song. UK listeners have the opportunity to win a copy by sending an email to comp-river@doctorwhonews.net with the subject Blue Box Journal by the 1st of June and answering what is the first thing that River says to the Doctor from the perspective of her timeline, as played by Alex Kingston, not the younger actresses. As with any other book competition, you would want to include that you heard about it from an Unearthly Podcast, as well as your name and address so that they can send you the copy if you win. But once again, that is a UK-only competition.
As usual for books. Probably, like I said, due to publishing rights.
I always kind of want to get into these books, but
I'm kind of wondering if the first thing that she said was "Hello, sweetie" or not.
No, it was not.
What are these strange rectangular objects that people speak of?
Okay, I remember the first episode where she became Alex Kingston, but I don't remember the lines. So
chronologically, yeah. If you want to look for it, I would suggest rewatching the episode "Let's Kill Hitler," and groaning at it because it was not a good episode. But
let's not say we did.
Because that would be the one that would have the line. If you want, you can skip the episode up to the point where she turns into Alice Kingston, watch the line and pause it, and that's what I would recommend.
Oh, wait, you can't do this on Netflix anymore, though.
No, I'm mentioning if you have it. I was expecting as if it was like a DVD.
Yeah. Or if you had bought it off on video.
Well, UK only. They can watch it streamed.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. It's UK only contest.
UK vestiges.
That always keeps throwing me, dang it.
Oh well. There's good news for Apple users like me. The Big Finish app is now available on iTunes.
The hell is an apple?
Ha ha.
It's a thing that keeps the Doctor away, except apparently it doesn't keep him away from Big Finish.
Nope. So this features a brand new interface and sorting system. And now you can download directly to your Apple device the audio files from Big Finish, and a list of all your available audiobooks in the Big Finish account. You also get the option to skip and scrub between chapters, saved playback positions, and the ability to use other apps while listening. Well, that's generous of them.
Yeah. Great. When's the Android version?
It actually was already available on Android.
Oh,
I have the app on. I've noticed that on older Android devices, it doesn't work very well. On my old phone, it did not work, but on both my tablet and on my current phone, it works. I won't say perfectly, but it works 9 out of 10.
well, we'll have to see how it works when I get an S7 and sometime in the next 2 months.
Oh, warning! Wi-Fi is recommended when downloading large audio files, and downloading files over data connections such as 3G may incur a cost from your telecommunications provider.
That should be an obvious for anybody that uses a phone.
You say that, and yet services that use texting are still required to give you a warning that your mobile provider may charge you for a text.
Yeah, there's a few that still charge per text. I know ours has unlimited texting, which I like.
In my experience, it's only pay-as-you-go that charge, but I don't know if that's universal.
Well, the official Big Finish app, it's completely free, and you can download it right now and can be found in the iTunes App Store right now. So what are you waiting for? I'm just waiting for this podcast to finish.
Get it.
Moving on, there's the Two Masters trilogy continues with a new installment. This is Doctor Who, Vampire of the Mind. And this it reminds me of Fiend Without a Face, about the vampire brains.
One thing on this one, from what I've heard, it does not require you to have listened to And You Will Obey Me first. No news yet on whether the Two Masters will directly continue off of this or whether it'll be a third independent story, but so far they are in separate stories from what I've heard.
Also, then, so Vampire of the Mind stars Colin Baker and Alex McQueen. And then,
By any chance, does it mention a companion? I don't remember if it mentioned.
It doesn't on the cover, at least.
This is during
This is the Lone Baker.
Not to be compared with the lone deadly assassin Baker. I mean, confused.
And then Alex McQueen joined Sylvester McCoy to star in Doctor Who, The Two Masters.
I just spotted a typo on the article. Good job,
Really?
Big Finish. Yep.
Wah, wah,
They left out an L in one of the instances of the word installment.
Installment.
So Doctor Who, Vampire of the Mind is written by Justin Richards. And Doctor Who, The Two Masters stars Sylvester McCoy, Jeffrey Beavers, and Alex McQueen. And there are trailers for both of these out right now. And next we have Doctor Who, Gallery of Ghouls.
Ooh, sounds ghoulish.
Yep.
Looks like the ghoul is made out of pudding.
Is it an all ghoul school?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tom Baker and
That joke is bad,
Lala
you should feel bad.
Ward. You can listen to the trailer. It takes place on a planet called Aorus. And it starts off with the Doctor and Romana taking a holiday. It's written by Alan Barnes.
Boy, they did that a lot.
Yeah, they did.
Did they ever actually do anything, or was it all just taking holidays?
It was just a series of long
It was
dates.
pretty much 100 years of courting and 100 years of honeymoon, and then a call from Gallifrey.
We'll talk about that later.
Although, according to Full Circle, you would say it was probably about 100 years of divorce procedures, too.
Mm-hmm. And then Tom Baker and Lola Ward are in another adventure called Doctor Who, The Trouble with Drax. Starring Ray Brooks as Gallifrey's most wanted cockney.
He's a cockney.
The 4 previous series of Fourth Doctor adventures are still available to order now. But there are special money saving special bundles available. Speaking of Drax, I've always wanted to see Drax from Doctor Who and Drax from the Marvel Universe sit down for a nice cup of tea and have a discussion about world affairs.
Which one? There's lots of worlds out there.
The world between hope and reality. Yep. Anyway. Coming Friday, May 13th, is the complete series 1 and 2 of Cyberman from the worlds of Doctor Who. It is available in a brand new CD set. It was originally released in 2005-2009. It's written by Nicholas Briggs and James Swallow. And Cyberman, the complete series 1 and 2, collects all 8 episodes together, and it includes a 9th disc of bonus content, which also has a new featurette specially produced for this release. It can be pre-ordered for £25 on CD or $20 to download ahead of its release on Friday, May 13th. I just realized Friday the May 13th is come and gone.
Yes. You got to remember that we're suffering from that 2-week lag. We had some of the news was built for last week, so
It's kind of come and gone, but it's still on sale.
Yep.
The new collection, it will be available to buy from Big Finish at 10th Planet's Day of the Cybermen event on May 14th. It says the first episode of the series, Cyberman Scorpius, is available to download for free to all the Big Finish newsletter subscribers until the 31st of May. And the remaining series parts have been reduced to just $2.99 on CD and download while stocks last. So, I guess these things are selling like hotcakes. And finally, we have Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor Adventures.
When you talk about something like hotcakes, now you go to the one that continuously crashed the Big Finish site for about 24 hours when it was released.
David Tennant and Catherine Tate are going to be in 3 brand new audio adventures available now. Allons-y. So, we have Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor Adventures, Technophobia by Matt Fitton, Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor Adventures, Time Reaver by Jenny T. Colgan, Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor Adventures, Death and the Queen by James Goss.
I actually have some related news to this. As of right now, we are actually planning on reviewing those the 3 10th Doctor Adventures at the end of this season, barring, of course, Class actually showing up and having us reschedule that.
Ooh, time Reaver, I believe you can get me through the night.
That was
Good one,
rather
Tim.
oddly impromptu.
Hey, I saw an opportunity and I went for it.
You said Time Weaver instead of Dreamweaver. That's clever.
Mm-hmm.
Clever.
It says, Death and the Queen. I wonder, which death and which queen?
Or maybe they meant Queen.
Hmm.
Huh.
It says it takes
Galileo.
place in the land of Goritania.
She's a killer queen.
So you can order the copy for £30 on CD or $25 to download. As a bundle, is the whole thing, Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 1 Limited Edition, or you can order the individual stories for $10.99 each on CD or $8.99 to download.
Damn it, Google. Trying to open my link. Okay. And now it's just the entire internet doesn't want me to look at my links. But coming out within the next week on Tuesday the 24th is the next box set of Gallifrey. Enemy Lines, starring Lala Ward, Louise Jameson, and Sophie Aldred. In the distant future, President Romana Relundar will do anything it takes to save her world, even if it means sacrificing her allies and friends. In the distant past, President Romana, damn it.
Romana.
It's Romana that I'm tripping up on. It's not the rest of it. Romana Relundar will also do anything it takes to save her world, even if it means sacrificing her own life in the process. Unfortunately for Romana, which I don't trip up on this time, there is no easy option. With the threat of impending war and negotiations still ongoing, the world powers are growing restless. Every day, every decision
Bill, you're
critical.
fading. You're fading bad.
It's Cyber Bill.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Robo Bill.
You're back.
Yes.
Every decision they make proves critical, and no one can escape the fact that sacrifices have to be made. Time is running out, and it's running straight to Gallifrey, and Skype does not like one person talking for more than 15 seconds or so.
Apparently.
This is written by David Llewellyn. Did we determine that was the right pronunciation?
Llewellyn.
Llewellyn, okay. It also marks the return of Sean Carlson as Narvin and Miles Richardson as Braxatil.
Whoosh.
All right.
Okay. That actually does not give us a whole lot to go on of the plot, other than that people will be appearing and that there will be dire danger.
Crikey.
I still want to start listening to the Gallifrey series. It's just expensive to get into. Right. Now that Google Drive will finally let me open up this link, the Doctor Who license has been extended with Big Finish to 2025. I believe the last time it announced...
Didn't we just announce that they had extended their license like a couple months ago?
I think a few months ago it had been expanded to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So it is now expanded to 2025. There's a lot of quotes about people being happy about this, but it doesn't necessarily say what the revised terms are. The last time it had been extended, they were given the terms, they were given New Who through the 9th and 10th Doctor era, or at least the 10th Doctor era, because nothing from the 9th Doctor era has shown up yet, except for the Churchill years, which is also the only thing that had the 11th Doctor era. Actually, that's not true. We've had a few other things from the 11th Doctor era, just not the Doctor. With any luck, this extension gives us something new, like something from the 12th Doctor era.
Maybe. Or full on into 11th stuff for sure.
I doubt that they're licensing the 12th Doctor era yet, because he's still the current standing Doctor.
Well, maybe that won't be the case by generating.
Your connection is something awful today, Bill.
Bill, shut down your porn.
Yeah, you really need to go through, like I mentioned, and change and see if you can find a way to change the channel on your wireless router, because at the moment it's apparently everybody else that's broadcasting on your channel is killing you.
All I hear are a bunch of angry beeps.
And whispers.
Sounds like the beginning of a it sounds like the beginning of a soft cell song.
Or a Ryan Hino record.
See, when you said soft cell, that was the name of a company that sold hentai VHS tapes.
It's also the name of the group that did Tainted Love, Aaron.
Oh, okay.
That can't be a coincidence.
It makes so much sense now, doesn't it?
Yes, we're waiting
Right.
for Bill to come back from
What?
non-connection land.
I've been here. I just have been waiting for a chance to speak again. But
Really?
our
Because all we kept hearing from you was like little small beeping noises that sounded like you were being cyber converted.
but you can hear me.
We
Yes.
can hear you again now,
Okay.
currently.
So our final piece from Big Finish is that the War Doctor Box 3, Agents of Chaos, will be released. I was looking at, oh, there we go, in September of this year. Featuring 3 new audio plays, which are The Shadow Vortex by David Llewellyn, The Eternity Cage by Andrew Smith, and Eye of Harmony by Ken Bentley.
So that one will continue to go on. We won't know much about it, of course, until they start spamming us with it later. But obviously, it'll be starring John Hurt as the War Doctor.
Nicholas Briggs as the Daleks.
And
Cardinal Listra continuing to be a main character.
And either Terry Malloy or Julian Bleach may show up or may not. We don't know.
Dan Starkey is scheduled to appear as the Centaurans.
Of course.
Really? I thought the Centaurans' big beef was they weren't invited to the war.
Well, we were wondering how the New Who Centaurans fought Paul McGann, which I think is, I can't remember if that's out already or if that's still a future release, but I think this story may be related to that.
Okay.
And will it feature
It is- by the
footage
way,
of a
it is,
man wrestling a bear for no reason?
It is by Andrew Smith, who also wrote the Centauran Ordeal in Classic Doctor's New Monsters. So for all we know, it's a sequel to that story.
Possibly. And for all we know, this might not have anything directly to do with the war, even though this is the War Doctor. You never know what side adventures he was going on to during the events.
Okay, are we done with the news?
We are done with Doctor Who news.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. Civil War, how cool was it?
Very cool.
Fucking amazing.
I reestablished my love for the MCU.
Frozen.
Best superhero movie ever, except for maybe Deadpool, maybe not. Definitely best serious superhero movie ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the best serious
Really? Because
hero movie so
from the
far.
trailers, I was under the impression
Broadway best Captain America movie.
That's the thing. It should not have been a Captain America movie. It should have been an Avengers movie. I don't care about licensing and contracts and all that. When you have the entire cast ensemble in there, it should have been Avengers Civil War.
I would argue that it focused a lot on Captain anyways, so...
But it's focused almost as much on Iron Man.
Did it have Blondie?
Blondie?
Yeah. Thor.
Oh,
Thor, no Thor, no Hulk.
Why it doesn't get the event?
No.
But
No Nick Fury.
it did have no Nick Fury either, but it did have Hawkeye, Wanda, Vision,
We're still missing
Ant-Man.
3 of the main players, so no Avengers.
some guy from Queens.
I mean, when you
all
have
thick goggles, it was hard to tell who he was.
when you have 10 people, when you have 10 people running around, in costumes, most of which are carrying Avengers ID cards, it should be an Avengers movie.
Well, maybe Captain America got expelled from the Avengers. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, but I was.
I'm trying not to spoiler.
Oh, that was gonna be my next question. Are there spoilers in the movie, or is it just rock and sock'em superheroes?
There is a big reveal that was hinted at in the previous Captain America movie, Winter Soldier. If you looked very closely, you could figure out for yourself what the big reveal for this movie was. So we shouldn't talk too much about that.
Did they play Brother My Brother while someone said superheroes aren't meant to fight? Not like this.
No.
I will punch you in the soul.
What?
I will punch
Why
you
does
in the
that
soul.
sound so familiar?
Have you watched Pokemon the first movie? Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah! I remember that movie.
God damn it.
Anyway, it is a great movie. Go see it. It is probably the best superhero movie out there, and it's such a contrast to Batman versus Superman. And we'll see how it contrasts to X-Men Apocalypse in a week or so.
Cannot wait for the new Spider-Man movie because this Spider-Man was amazing.
Yes, this Spider-Man.
You've got a full year to wait for it.
This Spider-Man was pretty much, I think, the best we've seen out of all the movie Spider-Mans.
Did he have more scenes than the trailer, or did the trailers literally give us all the Spider-Man
scenes in the trailer?
Okay.
Yeah.
He had about three or four major scenes.
Got you.
And he was also a big contender in the big fight, so.
But it wasn't.
I was including that as one of the scenes. There is a massive fight scene that takes place about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the movie. That is probably one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces I've ever seen.
And also has spoilers that happen during it as well.
Which is why I can't talk much about it.
Yep, but we're going to say it was amazing.
Go see this movie. End of discussion, because we are now running behind schedule.
No, we started late.
That's taking into account our behind schedule. We are now 10 minutes, or 11 minutes past the point I normally cut to doing the.
Don't we normally do the 5-minute challenge at 12 o'clock?
No, we do the 5-minute challenge at 5:02.
Well, then we're actually just on time then. Because we were rather late tonight. Anyway,
5-minute challenge. Who's up for it?
I did last week, as I recall.
I'm not allowed to do it anymore.
That's what you keep saying.
They don't allow me to go into the petting zoo anymore.
That's because you don't take it seriously.
Speaking of petting zoos, I had a very interesting Tuesday.
I knew this was gonna happen.
Aaron, I will drop you from this call.
I love how it went from I'm not allowed to talk about it in public to I want to broadcast it to all of YouTube.
Well, none of my employers listen to this podcast. We have, one person watching right now, and that's me.
I've checked out the YouTube channel, by the way. I believe we're averaging about 10 people an episode. Between 5 and 10
That's
people
wonderful.
at least.
Gives me hope.
Anyway,
Hi, viewers.
So who wants to do the summary?
Like I said, I did last time. Not to mention
Going once.
YouTube tends to, not to mention Skype tends to hate me when I talk for longer than a couple minutes.
Going twice.
Sold?
Right. Pull up the stopwatch, Matt.
Ready when you are. Alrighty. So, I guess starting 10, starting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, the Doctor and Romana have received a summons back to Gallifrey. This makes Romana sad because she doesn't really want to leave. The Doctor lets K9 steer the TARDIS to Gallifrey. I don't know if he's testing it out or what, but while the Doctor's comforting Romana, K9 experiences a bizarre phenomenon. And when the TARDIS lands on Gallifrey, it's not Gallifrey. Their screens show Gallifrey, but they see a nice kind of summer woodlands area, it looks like, inhabited by a whole bunch of people who are busy gathering melons. Melons. Anyway, we also run into a boy named Adric, who is wanting to be a member of a group called the Outlers, which are basically a bunch of rebels without a clue. They have decided to abstain from the ways of the members of the Starliner, which is their people, and live out in a cave overlooking everything. Adric convinces them that he can steal some of these melons, for them, and goes off to do this. Meanwhile, the group from the Starliner is led by a people called Deciders, who basically do anything but. As they're out there looking at the melons, and seeing what's wrong with it, they're talking about this weird thing that they're seeing in it. As they're discussing this and pondering it, mists begin to come out of the water, and a couple of people swimming in the water seem to have problems. They're quickly gotten out, and the head decider announces that something's happening called Mistfall, and that everybody should flee to the Starliner within 2 hours. Of course, this does not stop Adric from trying to steal fruit, and he is quickly seen and has to escape. While doing so, he stumbles across the TARDIS and staggers inside, but not before he sees the head decider pulled into the swamp. On the Starliner, one of the citizens is not happy because his daughter, a member of the rebel group, hasn't shown up. Neither has the other rebels. But it's been 2 hours, and they mention, of course, to him that the head decider is also AWOL. So they seal up the Starliner and decide to make this citizen one of the new member of the Deciders. Of course, having the Starliner sealed up does not stop the Doctor from getting in. Of course not. Who decides to take in and have a little poke around. But unwittingly, he also lets in a swamp man. It's these new creatures coming out of the swamps. The Doctor is soon found, and so is the swamp man. And the head scientist decides he wants to use it as a research subject, doing a lot of non-ethical research, which tends to annoy the Doctor. Meanwhile, Adric goes out, gets his fellow outsiders, and they decide to take over the TARDIS. The TARDIS, however, while everyone's inside, is moved back to their cave by these Marshmen, who soon run off because melons are starting to hatch into spiders. One of these spiders bites Romana, and things go sideways from there. Adric sets the TARDIS in motion by accident and materializes it magically on the Starliner. The outsiders are taken to trial and are decided to let them just help with the work. Really, they get off time served. Meanwhile, the Doctor, of course, has gone back, re-gotten Romana, who seems to be very bizarrely out of it, and brings her back to the Starliner. Bad move, as she's actually been taken over by some form of mind control and lets all the swamp men into the Starliner, who proceed to start wrecking havoc and killing people. The Doctor, after doing a little research, makes the discovery that the fact that the swamp men, the spiders, and the people all have the same DNA type. He also discovers that pure oxygen tends to drive off the swamp men and sends them in a push-off of pure oxygen. It's then that the head decider the Doctor comes to realization that they're all the same species, that they evolve rapidly from spider to swampman to human, depending on their environment, and that this big plan that they had to go back to their home on Pterodon is a complete and total fabrication, as they were never there to begin with. However, before this cycle of humans are wiped out by the swamp men, the Doctor manages to get them set up to take off on the ship again, and sends them into space while he and Romana go on with the glum realization that they are actually trapped in a smaller universe called the Exospace Time Continuum. Also, unbeknownst to them, they have a stowaway.
As of
End.
yet.
Oh, did he appear as a stowaway? Because I was kind of wondering when
They don't actually show it in the episode, but we see him pop up next episode. So
We see him drop off the image translator, and we actually never see him leave the TARDIS.
mhm.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
I was sitting there. I was like, okay, how
As Bill shoots off into space.
I don't know if his pitch went up any further. He could be a great fill-in for Aaron Neville.
Actually, sounds more like he's blasting off of Team Rocket. Anyways, you made it, Randy, in I'm gonna guess 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
A little long, but I kept
Just a
making I
little.
kept cracking wise. I had to
Mhm.
pause every time I mentioned melons and go, melons.
Corn.
Okay, so give me a moment here to bring up my good old die roller. Left my dice in my car because I keep forgetting them here. Do we have Bill back from bizarre Aaron Neville land?
I don't know.
Sounds like
Doesn't
he's
matter at
kinda
the
there.
moment because Matt, you're first.
I have
He's
Thing that you liked.
It's been a while since I've been first. So general thing I liked. I like that there's a very. I like the general story of it. I like the fact that everyone seems to have a little bit of a background and a goal, and it turns out that there's a big mystery behind actually how the Starliner actually got there and what its actual purpose really is, which is actually protecting the humans from the world that they actually belong on. Funny
Okay.
enough. And all this other little extra stuff. Very well written story, I think.
Yes. Here's a question for you. How old do you think the person is that wrote this story?
That's a good question. I wouldn't know offhand because they tend to flip-flop writers so quickly.
He was 17 when they filmed this.
Dang.
He wrote it, I think, when he was 15.
Wow.
And he had been sending in several scripts before then, like probably around the age of 13, we guess?
Yeah, 11 or 13, he had started sending scripts, and they kept turning him down. And then he wrote in this one, and they had originally turned it down because it just didn't, because I think they were doing Key to Time or something. No, this was after Key to Time. They were doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
No, it might have been Key to Time at that point, so it didn't fit their Key to Time thing. And then later, when they came back to it, or when they were looking for stuff, they came back to it and said, hey, this would really work. And they sat down with them and got it all working.
I could see it. The Starliner is really a piece of the Key to Time. We must take it from you and strand you on this planet that you've already been stranded on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill, what did you like about this episode overall?
I don't know. I guess the whole philosophical struggle about whether the creatures from the Black Lagoon should be experimented on or treated as horrendous monsters or just recognized as other creatures living there, and all of the subplots spinning off from that.
Okay. And then, Tim, what did you like overall?
I guess I really liked the concept of the evolutionary tree that's brought up. from spiders to swamp creatures to human beings. It just ignites my imagination. I'm wondering, like, what other, like, stops along the way there were between those three things that we see, and what kind of environment was on this planet that led to such changes.
Okay. It is a kind of a thought-provoking thing. And Aaron, what about you? Things you like?
I think I liked Adric most.
And it's very rare to hear that be said by people.
He was so cute. Next episode, we can see
Bill's
him in
dying.
a poofy shirt.
I think you choked me by saying that.
He was so cute. Next episode, we could see him in a poofy shirt too. Although that could be a little,
But
I don't know. Both Matthew Waterhouse and John Nathan Turner were gay, so. I wonder
In a
if
few
that had
episodes,
anything
we get to
do with
see
it.
him tortured by Anthony Ainley.
Oh yeah, that's Although he was a little bit overdressed for that.
We are not talking about future episodes. We are talking about this episode.
Yeah, he's a little bit overdressed for this episode too.
I like how you put on your comic book guy from The Simpsons voice.
But yeah, I found him to be kind of a genuinely empathetic and interesting character. I mean, he did have kind of the annoying little brother thing going for him, so I can understand why people hate him so much. But he's obviously proud of his accomplishments, and unfortunately his accomplishments are all based in this kind of useless system that the elders have set up just to postpone the fact that they don't know what the hell they're doing. And he's kind of caught up in all of that. He's probably the one person who would probably be better at flying the ship than anybody. So, but instead he goes off with the doctor and everything and has adventures with him. I don't know. I thought he was pretty cool. I've always kind of liked Adric.
All right. I personally liked the filming location and their direction, their lighting direction and everything. It looked nice and bright and cheerful on the planet until the mist came.
Oh yeah, and then as soon as the mist came, it got real gloomy real fast.
They always made sure, by the way, when filming, that the lighting source, i.e. the sun or whatever, was directly behind the front of the scene, so everything was well backlit to produce that. It was pretty cool. So, what don't you like overall? And again, starting with Matt.
I'm trying to think of something offhand that I could say that I really didn't care for. I didn't quite get a grasp for why the kids felt that they could take over the TARDIS. That's like one of the few plot points that did kind of miss for me.
Because they could.
Yeah, and that backfired pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did. I mean, these kids are massive anti-authority, up the man style people.
Talk about
That think they could take what they want, and what they wanted was safe haven from the mist. So they're like, we'll take over the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
Let's threaten the blonde woman who could kick our asses, not to mention remove us from the vicinity if she wanted to. And the robot dog.
Okay. Yeah, well, the robot dog lasted very long. Thank you.
Yeah.
The robot dog that could kill them all.
And then got decapitated within 5 minutes of meeting them. All right, Bill, what didn't you like overall?
I found it confusing. I don't know if it was me or if it was the story, but I was just having trouble figuring out what was going on at any given time.
I think it was just you, Bill.
Yeah. It's
'Cause
possible because when I watched it, I had just finished taking my last final and my brain was all over the place.
Yeah, you
That's
probably
probably
were
why
frazzled.
you should have probably taken a second watch. I didn't need to take a second watch because I've seen this episode like 20 times. But I did my quality watch when I was watching it with Aaron. No, it's a very fast-paced episode, but it makes sense if you watch it with a clear mind. Okay, Tim, what didn't you like?
To me, this episode seemed to lack any sense of urgency with anyone. In that it felt like the Doctor was just wandering around aimlessly, as were most of the people. Yes, things were happening, and I was frequently being told things were happening, but I didn't really feel anything.
Well, in its defense, I mean, the Doctor felt no sense of urgency at all.
Mm-hmm.
He was wandering around, exploring, looking around, being Mr. Curious. The people, once they got to the Starliner, thought they were safe and had a long wait to wait out the mistfall. But I did feel a sense of urgency once the Marshmen attacked, so.
Yeah, the urgency definitely came in the later half when Marshmen made their way into the space liner.
Except for the Deciders, and that was kind of the joke on the Deciders, was that they couldn't decide dick.
Yeah. They just kept randomly muttering out a bunch of nonsense about all kinds of things that had absolutely nothing to do with what they were doing.
If you remember in this manual and this, because, yeah, they couldn't even decide whether to push the damn launch button. Okay, Aaron, what didn't you like about this overall?
I actually kind of didn't like Romana. She kind of felt like she was getting in the way of the plot. I liked Lala Ward, but, like, I don't know. And she was kind of creepy when she was possessed, but at the same time, it just felt, I don't know, weird and out of place, kind of. I mean, I get that the spider venom, maybe there's some microbes in her system that's, like, controlling her. It was just kind of weird, and I don't know.
Well, most of her scenes were as possessed Romana.
Yeah.
And most of her early scenes was depressed Romana.
Yeah.
Because she was supposed to be going back to Gallifrey. She didn't want to go back to Gallifrey. She couldn't go back to that boring, stagnant life.
Yeah.
So she was kind of out of it, depressed. I think she was okay near the end, but...
Yeah.
She also didn't want to give up the honeymoon.
Yeah. Well, actually, by around this time, Lala Ward and Tom Baker were fighting, according to the extras on the DVD.
The characters clearly were planning on leaving each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think also at this point, Lala Ward had announced that she was leaving.
Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because the actress herself was kind of genuinely depressed at how things turned out, or maybe it just wasn't a very happy part of her life.
Also, I would assume that Tom was not very happy that she was leaving and that he was being stuck with a little kid.
Yeah, that was another part, was the fact that Tom Baker really did not want Matthew Waterhouse on the show.
Yeah.
And John Nathan Turner said, tough.
Yeah, and also you can... This is like, watching this is when I really realized that there's a bit of tension going on screen that is outside of the storytelling. Like, there's some problems in production. You can feel the tension between Lala Ward and Tom Baker. You can feel the tension, or that you can tell there's something eating at Tom Baker, possibly J&T. You can also tell
most
that
likely
Tom Baker,
J&T.
Yeah, and you can also tell that Tom Baker isn't very fond of Matthew Waterhouse, which I feel really bad for Matthew Waterhouse because he's just a kid trying to do his job, and he's a huge... We watched another one of the extras on the DVD, the Swap Shop extra, and you can tell he's a huge fan. You know, he could have maybe studied up on answering some of the fans' questions and stuff, but a lot of his answers when they call in and asks him things about the production, he answers kind of very genuinely, like he's really into it.
Mm-hmm. He was a big Doctor Who fan, The writer was a big Doctor Who fan. The thing is, it's happening during a point that there's a new executive producer, a new showrunner, who's changing everything, and Tom doesn't like it. Meanwhile, Tom is taking it out on the people around him, which is causing problems between him and Lala Ward.
And then also him and Matthew Waterhouse, and then finally between him and J&T.
Well, no,
And
him and
also-
J&T was the start of the issues.
Well, the
not
start of the
end
issue,
it.
and then it continued to explode.
Yeah, and also, is it just me or does Tom Baker look a bit pale and drawn in this serial?
Probably
He doesn't. He
probably
doesn't look
because
as. Yeah.
probably because he's having a lot of off-screen problems with
Yeah.
his executive producer,
Like
his girlfriend.
I remember when we did Legopolis, which is a few serials after that, but it's the only other one this season we've reviewed. We made a lot of the same comments about Tom in that episode.
Yeah,
And
he
remember,
looked
when he
particularly
left,
tired.
he was hostile towards the Doctor Who production team for years.
For decades.
Yeah, he was quite pissed off about how things happened.
Well,
All
yeah.
right.
I mean, you give 7 years of your life to something, and then you get shunted off like that. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on, because we have to, the things I didn't like, I actually have two things I didn't like overall. One of which were the spider props that were used were pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah,
adorable.
I agree.
Except for they had these long teeth that were like, what are they, were spiders?
I think they
Yeah.
look more real than the ones they had used 7 years earlier.
True. Very true.
Especially the one popping out onto Romana's face and the way that she grabs her face and everything. It's both horrific and horrifically funny.
And the other thing I didn't like was Adric's older brother.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was
yeah.
kind of a bitch.
He was a complete and total douchewad. I mean, okay, I've known people that were orphans. Yeah, brother, sister, brother, sister. And one thing I tend to notice is they tend to stick really closely to each other because they're all they've got. And so here you have Adric and his older brother who's basically went, yeah, no, sorry, your parents are dead. I'm just going to go join these guys that are protesting everything out in a cave.
Unless one of them is raised by a superhero and the other is raised by a supervillain, then they're not so close.
That has absolutely nothing to do with this plot, Bill.
No, but I'm just thinking about orphans that I
They were
know
all
of.
raised by Magneto. Shush.
But so it seems to me to be a complete and total self-absorbed jackass. And I almost, when he's died, I'm like, good.
Yeah, he.
That's right.
the
He was
other
the
kids that
main
were
one. He
with
was the
him.
main one talking in the opening scene of that group, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the one with the brown jacket. He also treats the other kids kind of like they're nothing too.
Yeah, he is just a huge asshat. All right. So scenes that you liked, Matt.
I guess the first scenes that come to mind for me is when you start seeing the swamp people coming out at the end of episode 1. It was actually really well shot and well put together. And a nice little stinger for ending of a first episode.
All right. Bill?
I think I'm going to go with the one where they're operating on the creature from the Black Lagoon and it's telepathically affecting Romana, and I just kind of felt it was pretty well acted, and it's the main scene that stands out to me
All right.
as a result.
Tim?
I liked the one where the Doctor confronts the Deciders about how you could have left here ages ago, but you won't. And then the Deciders turn it around on him and say, actually, we know how to fix the ship, we just don't know how to fly it.
It was one of those Tom Baker, just pure indignant rage moments. It was...
Yeah.
All right.
I did kind of like that scene too. Yeah.
Aaron, your favorite scene.
My favorite scene is where the doctor teaches Adric how to cross his fingers. I just thought that was kind of a nice, cute scene, and for once, it didn't feel awkward, or it didn't feel like Tom Baker was going to reach over and break Adric's fingers.
It was an actual genuine moment. It's like, oh no, that's right. You're not from a normal civilization. Here, like this.
Yeah, it felt very genuine, and it felt very well-meaning compared to some of the tension in the rest of the episode.
I'm a bit out of the loop. Well, what did Tom Baker have against Matthew Waterhouse, if you don't mind?
John Nathan Turner just forced Matthew
I think he just didn't like his. Yeah, I'm not. I think they just never clicked.
Yeah, I really think it was mostly the fact that Tom Baker was what was, like Matt was saying, was incensed that he was getting forced down that he was basically getting forced onto the show. Well, I mean, that they were he had said, yeah, we're adding another companion.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like it.
And
deal
Tom
with it.
Tom Baker's like, I don't need another companion. And it's basically Tom Baker's problem was with J&T, and he took it out on Matthew Waterhouse.
Yeah, and J&T, I think, had a more traditional way of looking at Doctor Who, like with the younger male companion that protected the female companion who was always getting kidnapped and screaming and playing helpless, like with Perry. In one of the previous episodes, Time Lash, we see her chained up and screaming, and that's usually how J&T wanted the female companions to be portrayed, kind of a more traditional sense.
Plus,
which wasn't really necessary, but
Yeah.
then you could kind of get the bad side of it a little bit in some of the later seasons.
I'm wondering if J&T also had a direct influence with Romana leaving the show too.
I've heard rumors that he was part of the reason why she left as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
She didn't like the changes either, almost as much as Tom, and she had other gigs coming up all of a sudden. So she's like, "Yeah, I'm done with this. Bye."
Yeah, I've been kind of wondering about a few of that.
And if you look at Romana,
you could tell presently that the Doctor and Romana don't hate each other anymore. They've obviously buried the hatchet, otherwise they wouldn't be working together.
And also, if you look at Romana, she spends a lot of her time either possessed or just kind of passed out in this serial.
Kind of
Whereas
like he doesn't know what to do with her.
Does she leave the TARDIS for more than 5 minutes?
Only when she's possessed.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, before this episode, I believe in several of the previous episodes, she had much more active. She was much more active in the storylines. That she was helping to solve
we
a lot of
watched
the
2
problems.
episodes in a row where Lalla Ward was possessed.
Huh.
I can't remember if that trend continues in the next one. We'll have to watch next week.
Next one, I don't think Lalla Ward gets.
No, it's Matthew Waterhouse is kind of sort of possessed. He's
or
hypnotized.
at least heavily tempted. Yes.
Next week, people.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, it's a 30-year-old episode.
Shh.
He's talking about focusing on one thing at a time. He's not
Okay. I thought he was worried about spoilers.
No, I'm worried
focus.
about us not getting enough time to review this, considering how sidetracked and yet episode appropriately sidetracked we keep getting.
I think he might become a companion.
But yeah, essentially, I think the massive problems behind the scenes is the fact that essentially Tom just was in a really bad place, and he has apparently buried the hatchet of at least everyone who's still alive.
Yeah, well, he can't bury the hatchet with John Nathan Turner, nor would I think he'd want to.
Yeah, I think John Nathan Turner would probably be the one person he would still blame. I wouldn't blame him for it.
No.
Does he feel about Michael Gray?
He was not. He was not
right now.
He was not involved in the Michael Gray debacle. That would be Colin Baker.
Right. I'm just saying, but I mean, I'm sure he has an opinion. But...
Anyway,
it was like a half decade down the line yet.
Anyway, as I've been trying to get to for about 5 minutes now, my favorite scene is kind of an appendage off of Bill's. And that is the scene that after the swamp creature breaks free of the experimentation, he sees Tom Baker's face on the screen and goes and seems to pacify and go up to it. I swear you almost hear that little swamp creature, burble in his own language, "Daddy?"
Just about.
and then breaks the screen and kills himself. So it's really a sad moment, but I like the scene.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to scenes that you don't like. Matt.
I'm trying to think of any scene in particular that was actually really badly done, and I honestly can't think of one. But one part that did irk me, and it was more or less written into the story, is that one of the kids actually saves, I think it was one of the other engineers or something, and then gets trapped by the swamp people, and then the engineer just leaves him there to die.
That was writing.
Yeah, it just seemed extremely douchey and just kind of a bland desire to just add a body count of characters we kind of knew.
Well, it was supposed to highlight the fact that these rebels were actually better than the people on there, and I didn't think that was necessary. Okay, Bill, go ahead.
Unnecessary.
I am going to say, we're on least favorite scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to say the scene where Adric is trying to get the rebels to like him, and they say, what is it? You think you're better than us? And he says, "Of course I'm better than you. I'm an elite." And I'm just like, they should stone you at this point. Like, there's no reason for you to be here. You deserve whatever they do to you at this point.
Yeah, he was kind of proving their point.
Bonk.
All right, Tim, your least favorite scene.
I really didn't like when the rebels ran out on Romana in the spider caves and hijacked the TARDIS.
Well, mind you, the whole concept was, oh my god, everyone back into the TARDIS, and it was Adric by accident trying to close the door, or trying to open the door, flip the switch. The rebels closed the door so the spiders wouldn't get in. Adric trying to open it accidentally set the TARDIS in motion. Because apparently Adric has the magical ability to pilot the TARDIS while no other non-Time Lord can.
Apparently.
Oh, fuck.
Must be a mathematical thing.
Maybe.
I still don't like the scene, but that's for different reasons than you. Aaron, your least favorite scene?
My least favorite scene was the spider dropping out of the egg onto Romana's face. It was both kind of icky, it was kind of silly, it was stupid looking, like the special effects were just really... The spider looked like it came out of a Halloween costume shop.
It still looks
type
better
for
than
decoration. It was...
It still looks like a better Halloween prop than the other ones, like we mentioned.
No, I don't know.
So
I would say they're
goofy.
bad. They were bad in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
The spiders from Planet of the Spiders looked like plastic spiders that you would put like in a candy jar, only enhanced. These looked like plush spiders that people would have, like stuffed animal spiders. But neither one of them wins awards for realism or frightening. And yes, I agree with you. The spider that came out was particularly bad. But the fact that they had these huge fangs that went down all the way down to the ground from where they were made them look absolutely ridiculous.
I have finger functional.
So my least favorite scene is right in that same group that Tim and Aaron's is, and that's the scene where K9 gets decapitated.
Oh yeah, I didn't really care for that either.
I hate that sequence.
Poor K9.
So useful, and then they just treat him like shit in this story.
Yep.
And
Do not be allowed. And there's another scene also that was also a poor K9 scene where he's tracking. I think he's tracking the Marshmen. And then they go across the ditch, and K9 goes there, and I swear they did the musical equivalent of wah wah wah. And it was because the current production crew, by the way, absolutely hated K9.
Oh, of course, because...
Oh, yeah, because of the technical limitations.
No, they just hated the concept of K9. They thought it was too kiddie, and they were trying at this point. They were trying to aim to be more adult.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you mean JNT and
Bidmead.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to aim to be adult.
I was thinking you meant like the the people handling the technicals when you said the.
No, I'm talking about the people. I'm people handling the storyline.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was JNT and Bidmead trying to make adult sci-fi, and they thought K9 was too kiddie. And of course, the thing is that a lot of people love K9. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I love K9, especially when he's done well.
Hashtag bring back K9 to Doctor Who. Yeah.
He could have been the Doctor's death robot.
So
yeah, K9 really gets treated like shit this season.
Yes, he does. I mean,
because it's JNT trying to kill the character.
And it does. K9 leaves this season. Romana leaves this season. Adric hangs on for another season. And then he leaves too. And I remember them complaining that actors were getting written out of the stories that they were writing so far ahead. Actors were getting written out before their first episode aired. So it was their turnover was pretty gross because of the production team, and it's mostly JNT's fault.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to know how to write for all the characters he's supposed to be holding on to.
Well, that, and I think it's the fact that JNT, when he joined, didn't fully get what was going on with Doctor Who. I mean, one of the first things he did was fire Douglas Adams. I mean, you fucking fired Douglas Adams, you prick.
Where's
Douglas,
step number one?
Mm-hmm.
It could have been rethought.
And the fact that the Douglas Adams style of humor was made for Tom Baker, he reveled in it. The scenes where Douglas Adams, the script editor, with Tom Baker going on, was some of the greatest lines. Tom Baker was in his element there.
Can you imagine if we'd gotten another season of those two working together?
Yeah.
Even if Lala Ward left halfway through the season anyway.
It would have been interesting, to say the least. But then JNT became story runner, and I think he directly hired Bidmead, who shared his points of view, and that really changed. Everything went from being, hunky dory with Tom Baker to being, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
The doom and gloom hour.
And he started taking it out on Lala Ward, which was leading to them having problems. Then she announced she was leaving, and that led to more arguments between Baker and Ward. And then John Nathan Turner said, "Yes, we're bringing in a new companion," and Tom Baker went, "No." And
yeah. I was actually just reading that actually Matthew Waterhouse was with young men before the age of consent, so which is 21 in the 80s. I was reading about JNT and his
to be fair, I think to be fair, I think there was no gay age of consent at that time.
No, there is. It's 1980s was 21, according to the posts that I've been reading. So
I mean, was that for straight people or for gay people? Because I thought it was still illegal to be gay people. Okay.
No, for gay people. That's specifically for gay people, and it was mentioned because JNT and his partner would apparently occasionally look at cons and try to scour for young men at the Doctor Who conventions.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if Tom Baker might have been a little bit anti-gay at the time.
I should probably also reference where I've been reading a lot of this stuff at is references to the Life and Scandalous Times of John Nathan Turner, which is a book that came out. So I'm not quite sure of the veracity of these claims or anything like that, just so we don't get the podcast in trouble or anything like that. This is a book that came out, I think, in 2013 or something like that.
Yeah, and you have to remember, by now, John Nathan Turner's name is probably one of the most reviled names in Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's come out during this time, especially if they're a Doctor Who fan, I don't know how much of it is serious or not, but if it's against John Nathan Turner, they'll run with it. So
Yeah.
But I'm always wondered if Tom Baker was a little bit anti-gay, at least at that point in his life. Remember, at one point he had been a monk, so it might have been kind of against his faith at that point.
Yeah, it could be.
Possible.
And that's one of the reasons he might have had issues with JNT and Matthew Waterhouse. And this is purely speculation on my part.
Again, as far as I'm aware, he's currently has the hatchet buried with Matthew. Because I'm pretty sure they've had to work together again, thanks to Big Finish.
I could be completely
because
and totally wrong.
Didn't Waterhouse come back for a couple of adjunct dramas?
I think they did a trilogy with. I might be mistaken, but I think they did a trilogy with Waterhouse, Ward, and Baker, and Leeson.
Yeah, I think they might have. I'm not sure about that though.
Either way, I think he's done some stories with Waterhouse on some, and he's done some with Ward. So on that, they're able to work together at the very least. Whether that requires them recording on separate days, I have no clue. You can't even speculate.
Normally, it doesn't mean that they're recording different days, because it seems at least on a broad spectrum, they at least try to have as many people as they can in studio.
For most stories, they try to do everybody at once, but if they need to make accommodations like that, I think Big Finish is willing to bend that far.
True. But generally, I'm saying I'm
not sure that he's actually done Big Finish with Tom Baker yet. I think they've been talking about it. He only started doing Big Finish in 2014, so
it'll happen eventually if it hasn't happened by now.
And his original set of Big Finish was with Peter Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking the Fourth Doctor Collected now.
Where were we now?
I think we were just finishing up.
Yeah,
least
we were.
favorite.
I think
I
think Erin just gave her least favorite, didn't she?
No, I gave mine, so we are
you
done
gave
with
yours?
least favorite. Yeah, remember K9 Decapitated?
Yeah. Okay.
Feel free to kill time for another 5 minutes.
Oh, now all of a sudden we can kill time. Can I talk about my Tuesday?
No.
Aw. Tuesday night special. Would you like some extra cream in your coffee?
Aaron!
No foam on mine, please.
Oh yeah, it was also Tex-Mex Tuesday with sour cream.
Oh, God.
I get the feeling you're hinting at something here.
Oh, I never told
You haven't
that,
heard this
did I?
story?
Bill,
Not during the podcast.
After the podcast.
No.
I don't think Tim knows about it either. Tim, are you still here?
I'm here.
He's always
Okay.
here.
I'm
All
always
right.
here.
Since I'm not sure how much longer Erin can contain herself,
Fidget.
let's go to final thoughts, starting with Matt. Go.
Overall, very nice work on the camera work and the lighting. Very good direction. For a story written by a 17-year-old, this story was amazing. Never expected it from somebody that young, and I'm sure they kept their eyes a little more peeled after that. It's interesting to see how Matthew Waterhouse again, as he first enters into the fray. And yeah, you can kind of tell they were not entirely sure whether or not they were going to keep him, but obviously J&T wanted to keep him.
Actually, they kind of knew it coming out of the gate, so.
Well, Well, they didn't shoot it like they honestly meant it, but then again, they were trying to hide it from the viewers, I'm sure, too. You can see that there's some problems going on in the background, but you can also tell that despite all the problems and despite all of the pent-up rage, Tom was not letting it get to him, at least on screen. And he still pulled out quite the performance, as usual.
Okay. You done?
Yep.
All right. Bill?
I really don't know what to say about this episode. I do think, along with a lot of the episodes we've done in the past few weeks, it's one that I kind of watched in a rush and really need to. I think I really need to rewatch all of everything, starting with beginning of Key to Time up through now, when I have time to relax and watch it. Because generally, I just felt like I was very confused, trying to figure out what was going on and wondering how everybody was getting on the TARDIS. All kinds of weird things with this episode.
Yeah, so. You just weren't paying attention. You weren't focused.
I was paying attention, but I think my mind was still scattered from the week.
All right. Anything else?
That's about it for me.
All right. Tim?
I admit, when I saw this episode, I wasn't all that impressed, but over this podcast, I've learned some things that have sort of put it in perspective for me. So I'm gonna have to right now just say it's an okay episode, but I'm gonna be going back to it and watching it with a more closer look. Give it a closer look.
All right, Aaron.
I actually fairly enjoyed this. The episodes ran along at a fairly quick clip. They didn't seem to waste a lot of time. There was a lot of action. The side characters were still fairly interesting too. So everyone had a pretty fulfilling part to play. So I enjoyed it.
Okay. I remember this episode well. It was one of the ones I remember from the 80s, and it introduced the character of Adric to me, which I loved. And going back to it, looking at it with a critic's eye now, it is still an amazingly beautiful episode. The plot is surprisingly coherent for being written at somebody at 15 and 17, and works good even with an adult, if the person had been an adult writing it. There is a little hints of some stress behind the scenes, but I don't think it distracts from the episode itself much, if at all. So I think pretty much everything is beautiful in here. There are a few characters I dislike, and that's going to subtract from the points a little, because I don't think you were supposed to dislike them. But we'll see how that goes. And now the ratings. Okay, Matt.
Like I said, very good acting from the usual cast and fairly competent story. But not overly spectacular either, and there was a few little flaws like the spider, which I'll have to admit to, despite how adorable it is. But I'll have to give it about 4.
4 flat. Bill.
I'm going to say a 3.
All right. Tim?
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Oh, wow. I'm the high one tonight.
Aaron?
I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 too.
And I'm going to have to give it a 4 with Matt.
Yay.
Aw, Matt isn't alone.
And that means that we average a 3.6, which is going to put Full Circle not anywhere near what we were ranking with Key to Time, let me tell you.
Yeah, that dropped down a few pegs.
Boy, you can tell we've entered the John Nathan Turner era.
It's almost like something just stung everyone in the backside. Despite how good the story was.
3.6 will put Full Circle at number 86 out of 152 episodes. So it is in the lower half. It is on par with Resurrection of the Daleks, also from the JNT era, though a lot later. It puts it above The Woman Who Lived from this last season, The Doctor, the Widow, the Wardrobe from Moffat era, above A Town Called Mercy, above Mark and the Rani, and above City of Death, and puts it below Flatline, The Moon Base, and The Daleks.
Just barely above a couple of decent ones, but a couple of mediocre ones, but also just below a couple of really good ones.
So that's going to conclude what we have here for Full Circle. So if you want to do the takeout, Bill.
Okay. If you enjoy listening to us, please go ahead and like the video and go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixcloud. You can also like and follow us for news and updates on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/Unearthly Podcast and do that there.
All right. Starting next week, we have the Doctor, Romana, Adric, K9, and vampires. It's State of Decay, written by Terrence Dix, the man himself. And, of course, with Tom Baker, Lala Ward, Matthew Waterhouse, John Leeson. We will see you then.
Terrence, the man, the myth, the legend. See you all next time.
Woohoo!
Fare thee well, Annabelle.
And tell us when we're clear, Matt.